Like,
You have 7 names on there.
If you want to scoot down here by me, Mr. Jackson, all the other, if you're not on the committee, he asked for they to be part of the audience. All right, it's past time for us to start.
We have to vote on the subject who's,
File the grievance.
yeah, file the grievance.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm County Judge Gerald Robinson. We're here tonight for a grievance hearing that was requested from Joseph O'Neill. Today is Tuesday, February the 28th. The time is 5:24 p.m. A little housekeeping. The grievance committee is for the human resources. It's a human resource committee. It is open to the public, but the public will not be able to speak, not to ask any questions, not to interrupt. So it's only for the human resource. All questions will come from the human resource committee. We are required to have a court recorder here so that when you speak, you'll be documented. And also, when you do speak, please first call your name so you can be identified by the court recorder, and so that we can be clear. Please do not talk over one another. If you have questions, allow the chairman to recognize you before a question is asked of any witness, or so that we can maintain an orderly meeting. And it is being streamed live because the policy is required to have it is by public, for the public. So again, I will turn it over to the Human Resource Chairman, and before we do, the court recorder will ask any person who is going to be a witness or going to speak. You will have to be sworn in to be. That's a requirement to be to speak. So I will turn it over to the court recorder, and then I will turn it over to the Human Resource Chair.
Mr. O'Neill, would you mind standing and raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
You also have a witness. He also has a witness.
A witness? Mm-hmm. And the witness is, what's his name?
Stanley James.
Mr. James, would you raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes, I do. Thank you.
Okay, this is, from my understanding, the first one of these we've ever had, so we will just start from scratch and work our way through it and come to the best conclusions that we can from this meeting. This is a grievance hearing procedure. The purpose of this grievance hearing procedure is to establish a procedure for resolving grievances of county applicants and county employees to enable the county, through its grievance committee, to hear about alleged violations of the law, the state or federal constitution, or state public policy, and have the opportunity to take affirmative action to enable the county to voluntarily conform the conduct of county officials and county employees to the requirements of the law, state or federal constitution, and state public policy. So with that, I guess we will turn it over to the gentleman that has the grievance. Yeah, you can press that button and it'll work.
Good evening, everyone. I want to thank everybody for participating and having me here to hear this grievance. I never thought, out of my 11 years of tenure being a law enforcement officer, that I would ever have to go through something like this. But we're here today, and I'm hoping that the committee is able to hear my side of the story without any biasness. I'm appealing today. I believe that there was no rational basis for different treatment. I believe that the decision was made arbitrarily, and I here desire to clear my name. as it stands to today, I have an untarnished reputation in the community. So I'm reading from a tablet here, so you'll see me looking down often, because I'm reading, I got a lot of stuff on here, so bear with me. This is to resolve a disciplinary action that was taken against me after a failed appeal with the sheriff, which is Lafayette Woods Jr., on Tuesday, February 7, 2023. This action was related to an alleged violation of Jefferson County Sheriff's Office policy, Title III, Section 8, speech policy, and also Title III, Section 2, standard of conduct, discipline, and subordination.
Hey, if I could interrupt you just for a second, for any of the justices that don't know, if you'll go to tab A, the first sheet in tab A, I think that's where we're at in the proceedings. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I want to make sure they were able to follow along.
Yes, sir. I was at insubordination, and which resulted in my early dismissal from the agency on January 20th, 2023. And I'm just going to start from the beginning of the whole deal. On January 6, 2023, 11:59 hours, Chief Deputy John Hughes disseminated communications that a personnel transfer involving me from the Tri-County Drug Task Force to be laterally transferred to the Uniform Patrol Division. January 10th, 2023, I was contacted by Captain Johannes Bronson, who informed me that I was moved due to there being complaints from coworkers within the DTF division, Drug Task Force. Captain Bronson stated that he did not have any knowledge or information regarding the complaints, and that they came directly from Chief John Hughes. On January 11, 2023, an email was submitted via email to Chief Hughes requesting a meeting to discuss allegations/complaints lodged against me. Internal Affairs Division Captain Fred Green was also CC'd in regards to the meeting. On January 12, 2023, I received correspondence to the email from Chief Hughes agreeing to meet. On January 13, 2023, at 9:00 a.m., I met with Chief Hughes, Major Gary McLean, and Captain Bronson in the Simmons Bank Room at the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office. And during the meeting, the administration failed to address any of my concerns. Instead, they attempted to persuade me that I had no right to have any emotions about the abrupt manner in which transferred. Then advised me that the reason for the transfer, after the transfer had already been made. At no point prior was I made aware of any issues regarding my conduct or job performance, neither by my immediate supervisor, which was Sergeant Courtney Kelly, nor my division commander, which was Captain Johannes Bronson. Due to the fact that the administration neglected to follow the policy set forth, I was denied due process and the opportunity to disprove or dispute any complaints lodged against me, which afforded me the grievance process. Jefferson County Sheriff's Office Policy and Procedure Manual, Title III, Section 2, Standard Code of Conduct Discipline. A, it says that the Sheriff's Office has established reasonable rules of conduct and performance. It says there is rarely a need for severe discipline. Disciplinary action will only be taken after a complete consideration has been given to all facts in the case and the best course of action has been decided. Jefferson County Sheriff's Office Policy and Procedure Manual, Title III, Section 3, the grievance procedure. It says when an employee feels that they have been treated unfairly or arbitrarily in breach of the Sheriff's Office personnel policies and procedures, the employee shall follow the procedures outlined below to settle points in question, which is number one for me. It says discuss grievance with your immediate supervisor after first documenting your grievance and then the division commander. I was never afforded the opportunity to talk with either one of them because no one ever addressed me about any issues. These actions clearly show that the complainants were allowed to bypass both my immediate supervisor and the division commander, thus breaking the chain of command. which in the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office policies, there are 2 separate policies that speaks about chain of command. Jefferson County Sheriff's Office Policies and Procedure Manual, Title 3, Section 8, Speech Policy. It says the chain of command grievance procedure. Number 2, Jefferson County Sheriff's Office Policy and Procedure Manual, Title 1, Section 6, communications procedure. B says, we also want you to feel free to discuss your problems, suggestions, and ideas with your supervisor. 1, it says, if for some reason your immediate supervisor cannot help you, he shall then refer you to his supervisor. 2 says, the chain of command should be followed unless conditions restrict its use. On Tuesday, January 17, 2023, I was informed by letter that I had been placed on administrative leave for a violation of Title 3, Section 2, Standard Code of Conduct of Discipline. And this was stemming from a meeting that I had on January 13, 2023 at 9 a.m. I was placed on administrative leave for a violation of Title 3, Section 2, Standard Code of Conduct, Discipline, and Subordination. On this same date, I emailed the Freedom of Information Act, which was a FOIA request for any and all documents relating to the complaints against me. I also requested my personnel file from Captain John Bean of the Training Division. After receiving a response to the FOIA request, I additionally received a list of compiled complaints in which I was initially advised by Chief John Hughes that there weren't any. Documentation, he said the complaints were all verbal. Now, upon receiving some of the compiled complaints, I discovered that Sergeant Courtney Kelly was also mentioned in the complaints, but as it stands, I was the only one removed from the division. I had evidence to completely disprove some of the statements that were made in these compiled complaints. I had evidence that would have shown that the rest of the statements were highly unlikely, including videos. Why were these statements just accepted and acted upon? If indeed there was any truth to these allegations, I would think that presenting them to me and addressing them would have been the best course of action. I often wondered, why didn't my captain?
Take a break for money.
I often wondered, why didn't my captain, Johannes Bronson, fight harder for me? Knowing that the decision was made without him knowing. Knowing I've been essential and instrumental to the drug task force and the sheriff's office as a whole since day one. I trained 2 supervisors who were promoted over me without complaint. Every task force investigator that came after me since 2015, I trained. I believe that Captain Bronson, he thought he would have suffered the same fate as me had he had said anything. On Friday, January 20th, 2023, I was informed by letter that I had been terminated from the agency for insubordination. Y'all forgive me. On Monday, January 23, 2023. I submitted an email to Sheriff Woods to appeal the disciplinary action. As it states, there is rarely a need for severe discipline. I also sent a FOIA request to obtain the entire investigative file regarding the termination, as I was very curious and shocked to have been terminated. After receiving the documents from the FOIA request, I discovered a statement submitted by members of the administration that several statements detailed discrepancies and untruthful events relating to the meeting held on Friday, January 13, that ultimately resulted in my termination. In the appeal held on Tuesday, January 31st, 2021, I presented all relative facts, evidence, and information that clearly discredit several statements made by members of the administration. And it was evident that Sheriff Woods showed extreme indifference toward any of my concerns, nor attempt to address any of them. And this was also exemplified in the outcome of appeals letter submitted by Sheriff Woods via email on Tuesday, February 7, 2023. Instead, in his letter, he called me dishonest. I have the meeting recorded, and I would like that to be played for you all before I go any further.
I had a question.
Yes, sir.
As to why Fred Green was CC'd on the email you sent me to speak with me. Was there a purpose for that?
Yeah, just so they can be aware of what else is going on.
Okay. All right. So what is your concern exactly?
Well, my concern, I'm gonna just start from the beginning. I'm gonna give you a rundown of how this thing unfolded. Okay, so Friday, this January 6th, 2023, I received a call from Captain Bronson letting me know the administration was reassigning me to patrol division from DTL. Because at that time, I didn't receive any specifics. So I thought about it. The next day on Saturday, I spoke with Captain Bronson, which he was supposed to meet with me in reference to equipment and all this stuff from DTL. Of course, he sent me to Sergeant Courtney Kelly, met with Courtney Kelly, asked him, did he know any specific? He didn't know anything about it. So at that time, called Captain Bronson again. Of course, he did let me know he was working at UPB, so he made me busy. He didn't answer. I sent him a text message, asking him, was there any specifics? He never responded, didn't call me back. So after that, talked to Courtney Kelly again. I said, hey, Captain Bronson ain't said nothing. You don't know nothing. He said, okay, well, write your letter. You got the right to do that. That's how it is. So on Monday, January 9th, 23, sent an email to you. Also, Major McClain was also CC'd in it, requesting the meeting, inquiring on the reason I was moved so abruptly. January 10th, talked to Captain Bronson. He advised me to meet with him, met with him on 6th Street. Stated he talked to you. He said you asked him, did he advise me of the reason? So he did not. So he told me that he was advised I was moved because of complaints from coworkers in reference to me talking to him crazy. Okay. I asked him when did this issue come about. He advised he didn't know. It came through you. I said, okay, sound good. So Wednesday, the 11th, it's another email requesting to meet with you, Chief Hughes, in reference to the complaints and allegations. Because at this point now, the reason was given was because the complaints and allegations was in turn turned to a disciplinary. So At this point, I'm unsure who, what, when, where, why. It's a ghost. It's in the air. Nobody knows nothing. I don't know paperwork, nothing. Nobody ever talked to me. So at this point, it's just in the air. So that's why I sent that email. Of course, Thursday, on the 12th, you responded, agreeing to meet with me. And so here we are now.
Okay. I didn't receive your email on Monday. I was out for a funeral.
Yes, sir.
The email I read Tuesday wasn't requesting a meeting. You were stating that you weren't told why you were moved. You never asked to speak to me or anybody else. So when I got the email Thursday morning, which the one you sent Wednesday night,
Yes, sir.
it wasn't, to me, it wasn't a second request. I'd never been asked for you and I to speak. When I got your first one, you sent that to the sheriff also.
Yes, sir.
Sheriff
yes, sir.
told me to get with Captain Brunson and have him explain to you why you were being moved. It's not a disciplinary, it's a lateral transfer.
Yes, sir.
This wasn't a formal complaint. That's where we're at.
Well, you can't say there's a lateral transfer.
Are you making less money?
No, well, let me finish. You saying it's a lateral transfer, and you saying that it's not disciplinary, but the reason I was moved wasn't given for any other reason but complaints and allegations.
It's for the betterment of the department.
So you telling me if there's complaints and allegations and I was moved based off of that's not disciplinary?
It's not.
Okay. But if that's what you say, then that's what I can say. Because at this point, that's why I'm at requesting these allegations. They are lies. So that's why I want to know who, what, when, where, and why. Because you say it's not disciplinary, I'm saying it is. Okay. But that's cool. We're at this point. So if I was disciplined according to me being moved, allegations and everything, I was not given this. The policy has a standard conduct of discipline. Never went through that, which in turn would give me the grievance process. Wasn't afford that ability.
This wasn't discipline? This wasn't.
I understand what you're saying, but I'm just letting you know on my side.
Okay.
What way I'm seeing
I
things.
understand what you're saying, and we're gonna agree to disagree on that.
That's right. That's what I'm
Okay,
saying.
McClain, this started way before I even got employed here in how you talk to people.
Okay.
It was current employees, past employees with the same complaint.
Where's the complaint?
They're verbal. The verbal complaints.
That's not like that. That's not that verbal. I can go and say, the President Obama told me this. That's not gonna fly. You know why? Because nothing's on paper.
O'Neal.
So you know, because you've been in this game long enough.
You
Major been around long enough. Captain Brunson been around long enough. That ain't gonna fly.
There's no point in doing this.
Where's the paperwork?
Joe, calm down and listen to what Hughes is saying.
I hear what he's saying, and it's lies. It's lies.
Joe.
When, where, when, why, when, where?
Joe, when I talked to you the other day, when came from Chief and Major, met with me, and said move, that you had been moved. That's what they said, right? I said, okay, fine.
That's what they said.
Let me finish, Joe. I told Kelly, which is your sergeant, to handle it, right? Okay.
Who didn't know anything about it, correct?
At that point, because he's been out, he didn't know anything about it. All I say it is, it's been moved. If it comes from Hughes or Lafayette or Major, McClain, it's a move. Now, you came, you turned your stuff in, that's fine. When I met with you Tuesday, and I told you, after I talked to Chief Hughes, he said, it's okay to inform you. Is that correct, Chief Hughes? That's what he said.
That came from the sheriff.
That came from the sheriff. So at that point, Joe, I met with you and told you what the deal was.
Which
right?
means that before then it wasn't okay to tell me.
No, I'm not saying it wasn't okay to tell you. I'm just saying when it came out.
I never told Captain Brunson not to give you the reason.
He just said, Joe's being moved to patrol. Point blank. I've been moved. Okay, it happens. You've been moved. Major's been moved.
I'm not messed up about that. I don't care about none of
But what
that.
I'm saying is,
It's not important here.
if they're complaining on you, regardless.
Who is they?
Regardless,
Your coworkers,
Who?
past and present,
Who? Which ones?
all of them.
Okay, now you lying. You gonna sit up and lie in my face? You can't sit up here and
You're
lie.
gonna call me a liar. I'm trying to tell you what's going on.
That's a lie.
You're not entitled.
You know why I called you a
You're not
lie?
entitled to this?
That's absolutely right.
Okay.
And listen, I want
Captain Brunson didn't tell you why you got moved.
Chief, I'm
You
trying.
weren't entitled
Chief,
to that.
listen, I'm not trying to argue with you, but I want you to understand
Exactly what
something.
you're doing.
I want you to understand something. I'm Joseph O'Neal. Aside anything, I am highly confident in myself, and nothing breaks me. I'm not mad about the move. I'm comfortable. I'm the man. When I know what I'm doing. Whenever I go, I shine. Not because I'm just being arrogant, but I do my job. So I'm not worried about that. I'm not mad about the move. I'm mad about the way it was done. And the way it was done suggests to me that there's something else going on other than just someone complaining. Who is this? Who? Why would I ever brought in? Is this normal procedure? I mean, Major been here longer. Is this normal procedure that when somebody complains, No one says anything. No one brings me, nobody says anything.
Captain Brunson ever come to you about how you talk to people? Ever? On scene? In the office?
No. When?
Joe,
When?
Joe, we talked the other day.
Wait a minute. No, other day don't count. Other day has something to do with this
No,
situation.
we're not talking about that, Joe. This is what I'm talking about. We're not, if under my division, if there's a problem, my deal is, if it's something that's just outlandish, it's something crazy, it's writing up.
Right.
As long as I've known you, right, we have a good relationship,
That's
right?
right.
When something goes on, how do I handle my business, Joe?
You bring everybody to the table.
Or I bring you yourself, or that person yourself.
Right, yes,
I don't
sir.
chastise you in front of everybody. I don't go off on you. I don't belittle you. I don't curse you, right?
Right.
And that's the relationship me and you have along with other people, right?
That's right.
If Morgan comes and tells me one thing, or Marsha, or Johns, or whatever comes and say, instead of me running up here, they trust me to handle my division, which I think I do a good job of everything, the many things I do up here.
Except for this situation.
I don't understand my deal. Well, Joe, this didn't come.
I know it, Cap. That's what I'm saying. I know.
These complaints didn't come directly to me.
I know it. That's what I'm saying. I understand. Yeah, I know it.
So my deal is, I come and I handle it.
Yes, sir.
I don't feel the need to write someone up on something that's going on with if it's an argument or someone goes off. I understand we have bad days and certain situations need to be handled a certain way.
Yes, sir.
On that deal I talked to you, I've had to talk to you several times. I had to talk to Courthouse several times. I've had to talk to Marsha several times. There's no one down here in this office that I have not had to talk to. Whether it be Winger, Chuck, McDaniel, everyone that I've had to talk to, right? Not saying there's nothing outlandish out the way, but I've had to say, hey, Caitlin or Winger, this is what we need to do.
Right.
Calm Chuck down.
Right.
Marsha's going through things. People go through things. I understand that. You know what I'm saying? You go through that. I understand that. But there have been times, situation has been hostile, and I told Chief Hughes and Major McLean, on one instance, when we were chasing a homicide suspect, right? And I had to calm you down, and you remember that, right? I had to calm you down on the scene, and also in the office, I had to come back and talk to you again, tell you about it. Joe, hey, I understand you're a senior investigator, I understand the stuff is serious, and I told them that. There are certain situations, you and I can talk a certain way, and I can't talk to Johns. If I talk to Johns like that, Johns is sensitive, Morgan, that's their demeanor, right? So if I talk to you, if I ever raise my voice and got you, Joe, you don't, no, I don't talk to you like that. I tell you, Joe, hey, bro, I understand that it's serious and that life is serious because everybody's not built like me and you. Well, if I go out here in the scene and something pops up, I know something happened, I know without a doubt, Joe can handle it. You know what I'm saying? I can understand that. Well, if you got other people underneath you, Joe, and this is part of being a supervisor and leadership, they look up to you, okay? And with you leading, if you take off in that, and because they couldn't get out, and I understand how serious the matter was, I understand that. But I also had to learn too, Joe. I've been doing this 20 years. Hughes has more experience than me and Major McLean. There's times that you got to sit back and reflect and be like, man, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not going to lie to you. The people who have complained on you, who said this, that, and the other, yeah, true enough, they look up to you. True enough, they do ride with you. You know what I'm saying? If Morgan says something, look, listen to me, Joe. Just listen to me without going off. Listen to me now. This is listening phase now. I'm going to listen to you. You have taught them a lot, right? And regardless if they have a bad day or whatever they feel the need, if they feel the need to complain.
Who is they though? I still don't know who they are.
Well, I'm just saying. I
don't even know who they are.
I don't know who they are either. I'm just saying.
You don't even know who they are. That's ludicrous.
Joe.
But Captain, I'm saying, Cap, I understand what you're saying. Cap, I understand what you're saying, and you're right. You're 100% right, Captain. I understand. Cap, you know I understand. Me, you gotta understand. I understand every single thing you said, but that has nothing to do with this right here.
Yes, it does. You're not listening.
Who is they?
Everybody you work with.
Name them. Where's the complaints? That is not the proper procedure. You may not know because you knew at this. Okay. That's not the proper procedure.
Joe, we're done.
Where are the complaints?
You're free to leave. Thank you.
Where are the complaints?
Thank you for coming. Come on. I'm done with this.
Joe, we talk to you later. This going on. Talk to you later.
Come on, man. Y'all know this is bull crap.
We're done, Joe.
And God is watching. And I promise you're gonna pay. I promise you're gonna pay. Okay, there's a short video of the foyer, and this is just a real small clip of me leaving out of the meeting room, going into the elevator.
I had a question.
It'll be the top left video. Of course, there's no sound to it for some reason. When they sent it, they didn't provide sound.
Who is that?
Sir,
Who's that in
the second guy?
who are the two in the video?
Okay, can you back it up some? Okay, I'm going to come out. You see that door to the top left? It's open now. That's Chief Hughes. When he stood.
This is after this meeting?
Yes, sir. That's at the end of that meeting that you heard the recording. He stood up and opened the door to let me out of the room. And that's me right there. And approaching me at the elevator is Captain Fred Green of Internal Affairs. Now entering is Captain John Bean of Training Division. Captain Bean is going to come out one more time, but it's to go down to, as you see in top right corner, you see me exiting. I'm on the bottom level now, bottom floor. That's just me walking the hallway. Yes, sir.
Underneath that top?
Yes, sir. And eventually you'll see me come out the bottom right too. You'll see me come out of that door on the outside, and then you'll see me, that's me there, getting into my patrol unit. Okay, and that's the end of that pretty much. I want to point out a few things in reference to the meeting and also a few things in reference to that video that was stated by the administration. I'm going to show that some of the statements that were made, they were exaggerated, and they were embellished to solidify the insubordination claim. That's in the packet. It should be behind tab B. It's behind tab B. It's a lot of pages in there. I think I got some of them highlighted. I'm gonna start with Chief Hughes. Chief Hughes stated he attempted several times to answer concerns, but each time I talked over him. That's untrue. he started the conversation by cutting me off. He stated all co-workers past and present had expressed concerns about my actions. There was nothing to substantiate that. 3, he said he told me 2 or 3 times to leave. That was inaccurate. He painted a picture that I was insubordinate and refusing to leave. Number 4, he said I began yelling at them and continued to yell and cause a disturbance. Again, trying to paint a picture that I was insubordinate. Major McLean, he stated I interrupted Chief Hughes and Captain Brunson several times, making it impossible to have a conversation. Again, exaggerated. He stated Chief Hughes said that the meeting was over because I wouldn't stop interrupting, then stood up, and then I turned my recorder off. I then turned my recorder off, but I wouldn't leave. That's completely untrue. As soon as I stood up, I did not turn my recorder off, but I left. He stated, Major McLean stated, he saw Captain Green coming towards the conference room, and Captain Green escorted me out. As you see in the video, that was completely untrue. Before Captain Green even made it to the conference room, I was already at the elevator, and I had pushed the button myself. Captain Bean, he stated he heard a confrontation and that he thought it was the clean team, then proceeded towards the foyer, and once he entered, I had exited. Now, the clean team usually consists of 2 or more detainees. Upstairs is a restricted area. If you think it's a confrontation between some detainees upstairs, wouldn't that cause abrupt action when you come running in? But as you've seen in the video, Captain Bean, I was long gone before Captain Bean ever came into the foyer. Captain Bean entered the foyer on his cell phone with no sense of urgency at all. But instead, they made it seem like there was some big disturbance in the foyer. Captain Green stated he approached me and walked to the elevator, and we walked to the elevator. Then he pressed the elevator. I was already at the elevator leaving when he approached me. Now I'm going to talk about some comparisons of some other people, some other deputies that had situations that I feel wasn't near as bad as mine, but in turn, I was terminated. And this is not an attempt to criticize any deputy, but just to show that how things were done differently for me than it was for anybody else. Recently, there was a certain deputy involved in an accident where this deputy left the scene of the accident, where the male in the vehicle this deputy hit got ejected from the vehicle. It was believed that this deputy was driving under the influence of alcohol. Both are criminal offenses in the state of Arkansas. One of them, leaving the scene of an injury accident, is a felony. And you may ask me, what happened to this deputy? Absolutely nothing. Not even investigated, not one time. This same deputy, recently, it's an affidavit in there. I can't remember which tab it is. Each tab is a different deputy. In an affidavit produced by Whitehall PD, left an unresponsive 4-month-old baby at a residence with an 11-year-old girl. Never attempted to render aid, nor call for medical service, nor call 911. Ask me what happened to this deputy. Absolutely nothing. Ask me, is this deputy still employed? Yes, he is. Not one day of suspension. Not one letter of written notice. All of this didn't just start recently. For reasons unknown to myself, things shifted dramatically in 2019. Even caused me to meet with the Sheriff Lafayette Woods, in his office, in reference to him referring to me as the enemy. in which he acknowledged that a source told him that I was against him, and he was wondering why would I be against him. And went on to say that Judge Gerald Robinson is envious of him and trying to run his sheriff office. I tried conveying to Sheriff Woods that I'm not confused about who my boss is. But to no avail, things got worse. As it stands, I have more tenure at the sheriff's office than one chief administrator, 2 lieutenants, 3 sergeants, and 1 corporal. I've had no disciplinaries. I've had a good standing work history, and I still wasn't worthy of being promoted, but I was somehow worthy of being terminated. I'm not only here fighting for myself, and I'm not the only one that has endured unfair treatment. There's also Sergeant Christy Brooks. When just one day after the press sought to obtain information regarding possible wrongdoing inside the sheriff's office, she was moved from Internal Affairs Division to Patrol Division, like myself, effective immediately without warning or cause given, and has also been looked over several times for promotion. We have young children, and like myself, I'm a single dad. When you dramatically change someone's work schedule, not giving them time, it may not seem like a big deal, but it's a hassle. I get up every morning. I take my son to school every morning. I provide for him single-handedly. I have help from my mom and dad, but I'm so responsible for my son. And there's another one here with me today. Former Chief Deputy Stanley James. When just a short time before his retirement date, was accused of being dishonest and with not one supporting piece of evidence, was placed on administrative leave. He's going to come and he's going to discuss other serious violations, some of which he had firsthand knowledge of, even criminal acts, where the outcome was much different from my outcome, and also to elaborate on the normalcy, the policy and procedures of the sheriff's office. Chief James.
How's everybody? Hi. All right. Pleasure to be before you today. My name is Stanley James, former Chief Deputy of the Jefferson Sheriff's Office. Michael. Hello? Okay. My name is Stanley James, former Chief Deputy with Jefferson County Sheriff's Office. I started my employment with the Sheriff's Office in October of 1995. Until my separation of June of last year. And what I'm going to come before you today is elaborate on some things concerning Joseph's termination as it relates to policy, and also some inconsistencies, which I later found out after I separated from the department, relating to inconsistencies in policies. As Joseph elaborated, he elaborated on him being transferred from one division to another, which is routinely done for personal reasons. Personal reasons, I want to go to another division to enhance my training, enhance my knowledge, and also for disciplinary reasons. If a person ain't doing what they're supposed to do and disciplinary action comes about, they're transferred. And also for the efficiency of the department. People are transferred. And as he elaborated on the meeting, there was a few things happened in the meeting that troubled me. I don't know how well you was listening, but Chief Hughes made a statement that no reports was written. Everything was verbal. I'm gonna say that again. No reports were written. Everything was verbal. Shortly after the meeting, a few days afterwards, Mr. Joseph O'Neill filed a Freedom of Information request to get those reports, to see if it was actually some reports written based upon Chief Hughes' statement. Lo and behold, what he get? He gets some reports that was dated way back to October last year, and also some reports that was non-dated, but however, that was written by the deputy that's complaining. But the telling part about it is that Chief Deputy Hughes just started at the Sheriff Department. Sometime October of last year, those reports were directly addressed to him and Major McLean, which is an issue. Reason why I say it's an issue, Jefferson County Sheriff Office mission statement. Long reading, I'm gonna get my help here. My glasses.
Age.
The mission of the Jefferson County Sheriff Office is to provide the citizens of Jefferson County with excellence. Our public services is through the aggressive pursuit of violators of the law and the prevention of crime and disorder. This is accomplished by partnership with the Sheriff Office and the public to enhance the quality of life, to reduce the fear, crime, preserve the peace. The Jefferson County Sheriff Office will maintain the highest standard of integrity, respect, and the rights of individuals. I'll read that again. The Jefferson County Sheriff Office will maintain the highest standard of integrity, respect, and the rights of individuals. And lastly, but not least, our service will be rendered with courtesy, professionalism, and adhere to the United States Constitution, as well as the state of Arkansas. So basically what this thing is saying, that we're gonna do what we're supposed to do because the public has entrusted in us that we're gonna do the right thing. And as it relates to Joseph's termination, I think of it like baseball. You can't go up bat to the home plate and hit the ball and go straight to third base. Then when the next batter get ready to bat, I think you're gonna come home. You gotta progressively work your way around the diamond. You gotta go first base, you gotta go to second base, you gotta go to third base. That's the rules of the game. And if you look in your tab, I don't know exactly which one it is, but there's a communication policy. And at the bottom of that policy it says, we also want you to feel free to discuss your problems, suggestions, and ideas with your supervisor. Okay. With your supervisor. And don't say nobody else says supervisor. If for some reason your immediate supervisor cannot help you, he shall refer you to his supervisor. And then so nobody else is saying his supervisor. Number 2, the chain of command shall be followed unless conditions restrict its use. And it refers you to the speech policy title 3, section 8-1A11. Now, reason why I say that is this. Those deputies that wrote the reports on Mr. O'Neill, they had supervisors. In between the major and the chief deputy, you got a sergeant, and a sergeant as a supervisor. They had a captain who's the division commander as a supervisor. They skip first base, they skip second base, and went straight to third to the major and the chief deputy, which policy don't allow that. Policy doesn't allow it. And if you look in the grievance policy, in your tag, number 11, that particular policy, which I just read, directs you to the change of command. So this one bar that they didn't abide by. And the thing is, it says, if your supervisor, if some reason your immediate supervisor cannot help you, he shall. That don't give you no room to wiggle. That don't give you no room to wiggle. So meaning that if you got a problem, you got to go to the supervisor. Your supervisor's responsibility is to work his way up the chain of command, meaning going to his supervisor. That didn't happen in this case. And as I was getting ready to read this policy, chain of command procedure. Chain of command is hereby established to provide for an orderly and effective resolution of employees in concern. Employees are to express their work-related criticism and complaints to the immediate supervisor. It don't say the deputy under you. It don't say the sheriff. It don't say the major. It doesn't say the chief deputy. It says immediate supervisor. Again, I'm going to reiterate is that those deputies had two supervisors that they had to report to. Their immediate supervisor, which was Sergeant Courthouse Kelly, and the division commander, which is Captain Johann Sprasser. That didn't take place. And employees must submit a written summary of any personal internal grievance to the appropriate elected official for a written response from the office of the appropriate elected official within 10 working days. Any question concerning the meaning or implication of the county employees' speech policy shall be directed to the appropriate elected official. Employees must obtain permission from the appropriate elected official to circulate while on duty or on the department policy or any petition questionnaires, and go on to say a few more ways, which is unrelated. So, in saying that, as I said, you can't go to hit the ball and go to third base. You got to work your way around the down. You got to go first, you got to go to second, then go to third. So the question y'all got to ask yourself is that, did the sheriff department follow the policy entirely to get to the point to make a decision to terminate Mr. O'Neill? Was it followed entirely? According to this, it was. According to this, it was. And does his action rise to the level of him being terminated? That's the question y'all gotta answer. And if I had to answer, I'd say no. Because I have been the person that was solely responsible for every internal affairs investigation from January 2007 to my separation last year. I overseen over 100 internal investigations. Some was unfounded, some were suspended, and some were terminated. But it was only one internal investigation that I didn't put my hands on. I'm gonna tell y'all about that later. With that being said, I'm gonna say that my personal experience with Mr. O'Neill, I never had any problem with it. He's been at the department for a prolonged period of time, but not even a verbal warning. Myself, I was at the department going on 27 years, 31 years in public service. Don't even have a written warning. But 7 weeks before my retirement, I get put on administrative leave for allegedly being dishonest. That's another story. I'm gonna talk to you about that later. With that being said, like I said, y'all gonna have to ask yourself the question, was the policy followed entirely to rise to the level of separation from Mr. O'Neill? And that is my stance on Mr. O'Neill's case. What I'm going to share with you now is about some of the inconsistencies in which I have knowledge of that I found out after I left the department, in which the sheriff wasn't fair, firm, and consistent in applying his policy. The first being on April the 5th last year. The sheriff called me in his office, asked me a few questions, started off with Lieutenant Baker in the meeting. Okay, I'm like, where is this going? Where is this going? As the conversation went on, he asked me one question 5 different times. Did I have any communication with Mr. Ed Allen in reference to me allegedly telling him that I had gave him 1 day suspension, that I wasn't gonna put it on record to suspend him. I'm 7 weeks from getting retired. What do I have against him? Nothing. So, the following day, on April 6th, I was put on administrative leave. As I said, I've been at this department going on 27 years. Every time a person gets put on administrative leave, their vehicle be parked on the parking lot.
Say that again.
Their vehicle get parked on the parking lot. But in this case, my vehicle was placed in an undisclosed location. I wonder why. I done allegedly violated policy. What you got to hide? Why did you put my vehicle in an undisclosed location? And just so happened, it showed up a day after I retired. A day after I retired. And during the time in which I was on administrative leave, people called me, you all right, Chief Jay? Yeah. Well, we heard you had retired. We heard you was on sick leave. That was the deception that Sheriff Woods wanted to put out to the public. Reason being is that he said on my letter, don't discuss this letter with nobody or this investigation. That ain't no, the investigation, yeah, don't discuss it, but the letter, that ain't no. And the thing is, prior to him becoming sheriff, Woods was an internal investigator. Woods was very familiar with the process, how it works when we put people on administrative leave, how it works when an administrative policy is done, and who it goes to. It didn't happen in that case. But I'm gonna tell you more. The day after I got on administrative leave, I learned of an incident that was re-aired on April the 7th, Bob and Courtney Kelly. And it said, the news release said that Courtney Kelly has been suspended for 5 days, working days without pay. And also, he had been suspended from working part-time for an entire year. That ain't the case, is. So when I learned of that, I began to request from the sheriff's office to try to find out the details of that particular case, because I knew it wasn't the case. I had worked part-time with Courtney. Joseph had worked part-time with Courtney. And the thing is, the case was forward when it was done. All the IE cases that we have over there are forward to me. When I was there, it was forward to me, with the exception of this one case. It was forward to Sheriff Woods. And that was in April, I'm getting out of course, that was in April of 2020 when the incident supposed to have. So when I submitted the request on August the 18th, I requested a copy of Courtney's personnel file as well as the internal investigation. I received some of the internal investigation.
Was this after you had left?
This was after I left. After I left, I requested a copy of Courtney's personnel file as well as the internal investigation. Now, Arkansas Freedom of Information Act required that you publish it all to the citizen if it qualifies to be released. I got 2 pieces of paper. And if y'all look in y'all folder, y'all can see the thickness of the case file that's before y'all. and look at Courthouse Kelly's file, it's probably 3 or 4 pieces of paper. 3 or 4 pieces of paper. I submitted the request on August 18th, got his file. Like I said, it was some other things that was in the file that wasn't submitted via Freedom of Information Act. But it was referenced in the file. Like I said, I knew I had worked and overviewed internal cases since 2007. So I knew what our attorneys wanted and needed in the file to make an informative legal decision. So what I do, I turn around and request those documents. I received some of them I didn't receive. And so on September the 12th, September the 7th, I sent a FOIA request to Major McClain, requesting the time sheets that was referenced in Courthouse Kelly's internal investigation. Now, they had given me everything else with exception of these time sheets. So, because I wanted to compare and contrast the time that he said he was working at Courthouse, as well as the time he was working at the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office, because I had heard that he was working on duty while he was at Courthouse. But prior to me requesting these, everything that was related to the file, Stanley Jane got it. But when I requested these particular time sheets, I get a response saying that those documents cannot be released because they were released in error and cannot be released under the Act. I got that somewhere. What is that? September 7th. I don't have no package to give everybody, so I'm gonna pass this around for whoever want to look at it, look at it. And when I got those documents and saying that they couldn't release the timesheets, I submitted another FOIA request. So I submitted the request saying that requesting every Freedom of Information Act that the Sheriff's Office received and satisfied that were requested for Courtney's internal investigation file, which was, I'm counting myself, it was 6 different people. So I received the request of Channel 7 News, the Prosecutor Attorney Office, Public Defender's Office, myself, Dale Bruno, Pine Bluff Commercial, maybe one other person. I can't remember who was it. I don't know. But anyway, I got a response saying that those from I sent the request to Major Gary McClain. Gary McClain stated that when I submitted the request on August 18th, I got the documents, and since then, no other requests have been made after August 18th. I knew he was lying because I had knowledge that Dale Bruno had submitted a request on August the 30th. So I sent an email requesting clarity, which is in there. Gary responded and said that no other documents had been requested on Courtney Kelly's file after I requested on August 18th. So I said, no, I know that's a lie. So what I do? I filed a citizen complaint with the sheriff's office. Because Gary was lying. I knew he was lying because I had the email to prove that he was lying. He had emailed. I had seen all the other emails. I knew he was lying. So I filed a complaint to let them investigate and determine. And the thing is, I filed a complaint directly to Sheriff Woods. So he had direct knowledge of what his personnel was doing. Did Gary McClain get put on administrative leave for dishonest? No. He didn't. He did not get put on administrative leave for dishonesty. After then, I was very concerned about the sheriff's office saying that they had released those documents in error because they had released the very same documents that they alleged to release in error to the prosecuting attorney office and the public defender office. Those are people that handle criminal acts. To use it to discredit him on the witness stand. So what I do, I request documents saying that, request the letters saying, asking them to forward me the letters where you told the very same people that requested the same document that I requested, telling them that you released it in error. Mainly the public defender office and the prosecuting attorney office. I don't know what the person was being charged with, who the public defender was representing. Could have been somebody for murder. Could have been somebody for drugs. Could have been somebody for crime against a person. I don't know. But the reason why I'm saying that is this. The sheriff did not think it was important enough to correct this alleged mistake. When I got the response back, it said no record was available, which is in there. Which said no record was available. And so after the end time went on, and I received a letter for my complaint, a citizen complaint that I filed, I think like on February the 9th, I received the letter from Captain Fred Green in regards to them stating that Gary McClain had followed policy in releasing those documents, which is untrue. The documents reflect that. He said that he didn't receive, or neither did he respond. And it's documented that Gary received the documents on the 23rd and responded to it on the 26th. The reason why I say that is important, this is our chief law enforcement officer in the county. You got people within his administration violating policy. Not only violating policy, they violating law. He sued Gerald Rock for violating Freedom of Information Act. But he didn't violate it on 6 occasions. Misled the public with releasing that information, leaving them to believe that Courtney was suspended for 5 days. Suspended from working for part-time for a year. But when Stanley James get the deal, I get my hands on the contact time sheets. I would assume that it would reveal that Courtney was double dipping. So after I get the letter, and when Mr. Joseph called me and asked me to come up here and testify, I was getting paperwork together. I said, well, I'm gonna call Fred just to see what he's gonna say, because I was curious if he actually had gotten the emails from Gary. Fred told me, he said, yeah, I talked to Mr. McClain. He's telling me he gave me all he got. I said, did you get the email? He said he gave me all he had. And so afterwards, he said he went and talked to the administration. Gary's major. And the 2 people above Gary, his chief deputy and the sheriff. Who in the administration he talked to? Well, we're here today because of the chief deputy. And the sheriff targeted me. So his response was that I put on the letter what they told me to put on the letter, which was to find the investigation unfounded. And you got a deputy that's violating policy, being dishonest. He violated law. Is that right? Is that fair, firm, and consistent? The implementing policy says no. That's one case. And the other one is, which I'm quite sure all y'all heard of, is the nurse, Lenitra Evans. I learned of Miss Evans that she was double dipping working at the jail, working at comprehensive care. I went to Sheriff Woods and asked Sheriff Woods, did he have knowledge that the young lady was working at the comprehensive care when she was supposed to be at drug prevention detention center. She was working 2 places at one time. An hour at the jail was 8 to 5. An hour at comprehensive care was 8 to 5. You can't be in 2 places at one time. So what I do, I told the sheriff I handle it. I started tracking. I started tracking on August the 31st of 2021. I tracked it for a 28-day pay period because our times I kept on a 28-day period. What I found out was that Ms. Evans was working at a minimum of 7 hours a week and a maximum of 10 hours a week. Well, she was getting paid for 40. So I took the stuff, turned it over to the investigators, let them investigate it. Back on an unknown date, probably sometime in February, I got the file after they had completed it. And no, let me go back. Let me see here. Yeah, at an unknown date, I was approached by Captain Fred Green and Sergeant Christian Brooks, who's here today. And they told me that they had talked to the prosecutors in reference to that case without giving any name. The prosecutor said, yes, you can charge both of them. Jail Administrator Gorman and the nurse for theft of property because the jail administrator had knowledge that she was doing what she was supposed to be doing, and she did it. She was reporting that she was working these hours, which I'm gonna pass to y'all, which is mostly 6 to 2. She was reporting that she was working from 6 o'clock a.m. to 2 o'clock p.m. But when I was tracking her, she would come to work at 7 o'clock at the jail, leave by 7:45 when she can go to comprehensive care. Come back in the evening, by 5 o'clock, 5:15 when she leave from there, stay there for 30 or 40 minutes, leave 6 o'clock to 6:30. Now, the county has lost almost $30,000 in revenue paying that woman, and nothing was done to try to recoup that money. So, when they told me about, they had talked to the prosecuting attorney, I immediately called Sheriff Woods. Told Sheriff Woods what they said, and that the prosecutor said, yes, you can charge Ms. Evans, yes, you can charge Chief Deputy Woods for theft of property. Because she got some property that she didn't have, that she didn't work for, that she didn't earn. And Woods had, Gorman had knowledge that she was doing that. Sheriff Woods told me, no, that can't be true. That can't be true. They gotta look at that again. So, what I do, I tell Sheriff Woods, I said, look, now, if I was going, if I know I wasn't doing my job, I wouldn't put my name on them timesheets if I know it wasn't true, which is forgery. I was just got written up for neglecting my duty and being inefficient. But for forging documents, no, I ain't going down that road. Not standing James. But he did it. She submitted the timesheet that was unsigned by him. He turned around and took those very same timesheets and took the hours that she alleged that she worked and put them on them timesheets. Electronic sign got it to me. When I got it, I knew that it was some deficiencies in the time because I knew she had worked those out. So I got to file an unknown date, probably some part of February, early part of February. I got it, did some correction, gave it back to the investigators to get back to me. I had some health issues then. I still got health issues. So my doctor put me off on February 17th of 2021 for a month. So I come back to work. Ain't nobody told me nothing. What happened with the investigation? Come back to work. Ms. Brooks had been moved from her division to another division. And as I stated, I learned of that particular case on April 7, 2021, April 7, 2022, on the news. On the news. A year later, that particular case didn't happen a year later, but I learned of Courthouse Kelly case. It actually was brought to open in April of 21, but I learned of the actual case a year later in April of 2022. The day after I got on administrative leave, it was aired on the Channel 7 News. So if you look in your ledger on page, what is this, 20 of 21, there's a letter in Nitra Evans' case. There's a letter to the attorney on page 20.
What tab is that in?
Let's see here. I think it's tab H. Yeah. Tab H. That is the actual recommendation of the investigator. That's the actual recommendation of the investigator. They recommended that they both be charged with theft of property, falsifying documents. But if you look on page, I think it's 2 or 3. It's the third page behind the third page behind the flower page. That is the letter, a portion of the letter that Major McClain sent to the attorney. His recommendation, he basically spelled out what the jail administrators and other people had did, but nowhere in there did he mention to the attorney about falsifying documents or theft of property. Nowhere in there did he mention anything about falsifying documents or theft of property. And normally when I did internal investigation, all that was pertinent information for the attorney to give a formative decision. But in this particular case, it wasn't in there. And on his termination letter, Gary charged Gorman with inefficiency and I think of neglect of duty. And if you look on page 19 of 21, in that same tab, the investigator said, during the interview, Chief Gorman was asked about the notification of the secondary employee. Chief Gorman stated to the investigators that Nurse Evans had asked him in passing. She asked if she could work a comprehensive care part-time job. He gave her permission. However, when he was asked if he and Nurse Evans had discussed the hours worked, he stated no. Chief Gorman was also asked if he inquired about the hours that she would be working the secretary employment. He said no. And if you go on down, the third sentence in the paragraph above it, which start off with Chief Gorman, let's just do the entire sentence. That during the second interview with Chief Gorman, it was revealed that Nurse Evans Shelton had provided text messages, which are all permanent on the file, detailing the secondary employment in the scheduling. Chief Gorman acknowledged that Chief Gorman acknowledged that discussion did occur via text. However, he could not recall the conversation between he and the nurse. When he first was interviewed, he said that she talked to him in passing. That's in the present. But when she provided the text, all of a sudden there was some communication done via text. Major McClain said that wasn't a lie. Here it is in black and white. You can't make this up. Here it is in black and white. You can't make it up. So, with that being said, how is it fair, firm, and consistent in enforcing your policy? You got people committing criminal acts and nothing is done to them. Nurse Evans was fired. Gorman got 5 days off with pay, without pay. Nurse Evans was fired. Gorman got 5 days off without pay. County lost almost $30,000. Almost $30,000. Nurse makes $55,000 a year. She worked part-time from March 2021 until she was working both jobs from March of 2021 until she was put on administrative leave. I think that was in late September or early October. Do the math. County lost money. Nothing has been done by Sheriff Wood to recruit that money. There's a reason for it. I'm going to explain that later. Explain that later. Here we go with Courtney Kelly. Here we go with Courtney Kelly. Back in April of 2007, I received a phone call from Sheriff Wood. James, I need you to do me a favor. What is it called? I need you to look into an affair involving Courtney Kelly, working at Courthouse part-time. Courtney had, the sheriff said that in a 4 month time period, Courtney had made almost $25,000. In a 4 month time period, Courtney had almost made $25,000 from Courthouse. I told Sheriff Wood that I would do it only if I'm asked to do it. I worked out there and that I didn't want to compromise the investigation. I wouldn't work by standard. I know I ain't doing anything wrong. I work for what I earn. I wouldn't worry about me. I said, under those circumstances, I wouldn't do it. Unless you told it. I understand. And we got off the phone. Several days later, I was in the office having a casual conversation. So I asked him, I said, what did you do with Courtney? Well, I turned it over to Gorman. I thought that was strange. Gorman is not even a certified police officer. Has not been, he's certified, but he's certified just enough through our department to carry a gun. In effect, arrest at the jail. And work part-time when he's out there under the supervision of a certified officer. Has no formal investigative training. I checked his record. No advanced training on investigation. But the sheriff tasked him with doing an internal investigation, which you see in those files, which are anywhere from 50 to maybe 100 pages thick. When the citizen requests Courtney Kelly's personnel, IA file, they got 2 pieces of paper. And there was other pertinent documents that should have been with that they didn't get. I knew, because I did this for I don't know how long. So I got those documents. So again, like I said, he violated, FOIA was violated, because those very same citizens that requested that, they didn't know. And of course, if they do know, they'd be upset too, and probably ready to take some action. Violated FOIA, Class C misdemeanor. So, time went on. A few days after I talked to Woods, ran into a casual conversation with Chief Gorman in the hallway at the jail. We was talking about something else. Gorman elaborated to me saying that he was going to turn Kelly's file over to me. I said, fine, because he knew once the investigative file was complete, they come to me. So, time went on, I never got the file. Never got the file, never asked, and I didn't know what was going on. Me and the sheriff really wasn't seeing eye to eye on some things. I noticed that from my treatment from him, some of the things that was happening, and I was told afterwards some of the job assignments that he was giving other people, being supervisors over myself and other officers that I went in. As time went on, during the week of May the 31st, I received a phone call from Courtney Kelly asking me if I wanted to work at the Blues Fest. At that time, I didn't know he was supposed to be suspended from working. Nobody in the department knew. But when I looked for his freedom of information file, for his personnel file, it was a request in his file where I had signed for him to work part-time. Major McClain had signed for him to work part-time. Because we didn't know. Ain't but one person that knew that he should be, well, three people. Courtney, Gary, and the sheriff. So I said, Courtney, I hadn't heard anything from the sheriff. Well, I had worked at the Blues Fest for like 17, 18 years. And the only time I communicated with the person that was over the Blues Fest was when then Sheriff Robinson wasn't available. He would direct Broadway Joe to talk to me. And I think that happened probably 2 times in a 15 to 17 year time period. But on this particular time, when Courtney called me, he said, I told him I hadn't heard anything from the sheriff. He said, that's why I'm calling. He told me to call him. So I'm thinking that Courtney's gonna be there working with the sheriff and myself at the Blues Fest. So we get to the Blues Fest. Courtney Kelly is the supervising officer over myself, 2 captains, 1 sergeant of the same rank and 1 lieutenant. I didn't think that was right because I knew a few months prior to then of the incident at Courthouse, but I didn't know the disposition on that particular case. So we worked that particular event. Few weeks later, I was in Captain Fred Green's office. Fred Green told me that, man, I got a call from Courtney. I said, about what? That he said the sheriff told him to don't worry about it because Fred Green is setting up security for, what is it, Fall Festival over here in Regional Park? Fall Festival. He was setting up security for Fall Festival. He had set it up in place. He said he got a call from Courtney Kelly telling him that the sheriff told him to be able to secure that Blues Fest. And afterwards, probably 2 or 3 days later, I was in the office with Sheriff Woods. He confirmed it. He said that he had got a call from Ryan Wally saying that, you know, people that was trying to set up security was trying to charge a horrendous price. So he had Kelly to look over. Again, Kelly's supposed to be suspended. Nobody knew. But 3 people. Kelly, Gorman, and the sheriff. And so, where are we at? That particular day, that particular week, the day before the the festival, I was riding my motorcycle to Regional Park, being known, trying to see how it was set up before the event. Who I see out there setting up the equipment? Kelly. Stopped and gave a conversation with her. Yeah, you don't want to work. I know I don't want to work. You can come on to work, chief. Sheriff put me over security. No, I'm good. I don't want to work. So that confirms he was working there. And as time went on, that October of that same year, I was out about in my car, received a phone call from Kelly, telling me that Mr. Gorman had asked him what he thought about me. He relayed to him what he thought about me. I relayed to Kelly my reason why I thought Gorman was asking that, because I had started the investigation of Nurse Irvins, and Gorman was a part of it. So he had some ill feelings toward me. And it was shown through his actions. Time went on, December 2021, we started working at Courthouse. At that time, we was working Courthouse for 24-hour security a day. And later on that, in the year, they changed it to working 6.5 hours a day. And I'm not gonna even try to explain to you how to change here. Here's one of my activity logs. I work 3.5 hours a day during a 2-week pay period, which was 5 days, totaling 17.5 hours. At 6.5 hours a day, it was 45.5 hours a week in which Courthouse allowed for security. 91 hours every 2 weeks. So taking away my 17.5 hours, it was only like 73.3 hours that they was allowed to work. And like I said, the sheriff called me and asked me would I conduct an investigation because of this email. This is the email that he got from Courthouse Legal Counsel, and I'm gonna read to you what the email says. It says, good afternoon, Sheriff Wood. Thank you so very much for your time. Courthouse values the partnership with your team and appreciate your advice regarding the security needs at this location. Enclosed is a summary of the total dollars paid to Sergeant Kelly as we discussed. We greatly appreciate you taking a look and letting us know whether the number of hours reported is reasonable for an off-duty officer, as it far exceeds the budget and the time submitted by officers at our other location. As we discussed, Sergeant Kelly also repeatedly called members of our team yesterday, inquired about, inquired about his pay. He called Lance Benny, 7 calls, Connor Hayes, 13 calls, accounts payable, 1 call, executive officer, 1 call. This does not include the text message that Kelly sent to Lance and Connor. I am CC'd our VP of Contracting and Supply Chain Management, Keith Ursery, our Facilities Operations Specialist, Connor Hayes, who is also the key point of contact for any security issues. I would like to touch bases with you after you have had a time to discuss this. For 3 weeks, I kept up the time out there to make sure that everybody, I think this is in y'all package too, I kept up the time to make sure that everybody stayed within the confines of the policy, which is 24 hours a week. Unless you take off a day, then you're allowed to work 32, which is spelled out in the policy. Courtney Kelly reported on 12/21/2020 that he worked 24 hours. On 12/31/2020, he reported that he worked 97 hours. He got a full-time job too now.
Was that a week or, was that a week?
Courthouse pays every 2 weeks, so this is 2 weeks pay. 2 weeks pay. But in order for him to work this 97 hours, he had to take off from the sheriff's office. His timesheet does not reflect that he took off. And if you look at the letterhead, I mean the letter, it tells you that Courtney did not use in a cumulative time to take off to work part-time. On 1/4/2001, 2012, Kelly reported that he worked 80 hours, $2,800. 2 weeks later, he reported on 1/29/21 that he worked 95 hours for $3,225. On 2/12/2021, he reported that he worked 102 hours.
Is this at Courthouse?
This is Courthouse when they was under construction out there. We was out there working security.
Okay.
He reported that he worked 102 hours along with his 80 hours that he was working at the sheriff. For $3,570. 2/26/2021, he reported that he worked 121 hours along with his 80 hours at the sheriff's office for $4,235. On, what is that? I can't read the date, but it's 104 hours. So with that being said, Courtney did violated policy for 4 months. I'll do the policy. He violated for 4 months, which says that an employee may work a maximum of 24 hours of off-duty employment during a 7-day period unless more time is approved by the major, chief deputy, or sheriff. I didn't approve it because I didn't know it. The major didn't approve it because he signed the times. And the sheriff had the investigation in his office hid away. If an employee is off on compensatory time or vacation, the time then the employee may work more than 24 hours. That's what I said. If you take off 8 hours, you work an additional 8 hours. With that being said, the reason why I felt that the contact timesheets was not released is because if they would have been released to me, it would potentially expose some more criminal activity. Some more criminal activity, but they won't release. And the thing about it is, it's messed up either way. You don't release this guy's personnel file to the public, and you allege that it was released in error, and you didn't do nothing about it. You release his personnel file illegally. The law says you release it when he's suspended or terminated, but you alleging that no action was taken. Why you release his file?
For clarification, what we're going through here, I mean, it's not reflective of his case. Are you trying to prove?
Well, I'm just elaborating on the fair, firm, and consistency of the policy.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify where we're headed with the conversation. Okay.
It should be a policy for Woods and his surrounding circle.
Okay.
A policy for everybody else that works at the sheriff's office.
I think we've come to what we've heard. Well, I think you made your point.
Well, I'm gonna say this last thing. I'm gonna sit down. There is a reason why I feel that Woods didn't do what the public entrusted him to do. He took over office, in which the public entrusted him. Woods made the decision to cover for Courtney Kelly with Gorman, Gorman was covered for doing the Evans case with Kelly, with Gary. Gary was taken care of through the administration by Green, in which he had direct knowledge that it was criminal act. So,
Do we have any, I guess this would be time for any kind of questions from anybody that's on the committee? Well, I understand that they explained all that, of course, related back to the case that's before us.
Okay, I just have a couple of questions.
Okay.
Given all that's happening, what is it you would hope that this committee would do for you?
I would hope that this committee would see it fit to overturn the decision and to give my job back, and also to return my sick and my vacation time.
Okay, so you're saying you want to go back to work?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay.
And for clarification, because I'm the chair, but for clarification from me, normally when it's a HR-related issue that involves termination, there is a process of disciplinary action that takes place to substantiate termination. Do we have any kind of documentation or anything that we can supply that shows that you were given due process and that disciplinary action was escalating disciplinary action was taken to the point to where that your termination was justified?
No, sir.
So you've never been written up?
No, sir.
Okay. Yes.
The, Sheriff, get your mic. It's working.
Thank you. Yeah, the sheriff's department's policy, as far as you being reassigned, other duties that's assigned is not grievable, is that right?
Could you repeat the question?
When you was working, you DTF,
Yes, sir.
then they assign you to patrol.
Yes, sir.
Whether that was disciplinary generated or not, that reassignment would not be grievable, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So this other stuff come in after the fact that you was trying to find out why you was reassigned.
Yes, sir.
Did you lose any money on the reassignment?
No, sir, only in part-time.
So my question is, why would you press it so hard about the reassignment that it developed in such a messed up bunch of stuff?
Yes, sir. Well, I wasn't pressing about the reassignment. I was perfectly fine with the reassignment. It was just the fact that they said that some complaints had been filed against me. And so I was very interested to see what complaints had arise to the occasion of even moving me in the first place. And that's the only thing that I was
That's understandable.
Yes, sir.
But all these other infractions or violations actually stem from you trying to find out who to blame. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Did you ever get anything in writing?
No, sir. No, I mean, no, ma'am. No.
Okay, did you get suspended or just after you were, I guess you could say after you were moved over to patrol? Then the next step, they just fired you, right?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct. Well, I went on they put me on administrative leave and then terminated.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not quite sure what authority we have in this case. Do you know what authority and what action we can take, pro or con?
I'll have to defer on that because this is the first one of these we've ever had.
Who would we defer to? Judge?
What you can do and what you can't do.
Okay. I hadn't had time to read that, so.
I said earlier, 22 read. Yeah. Well, it's a grievance policy, and this committee has the authority to, of course, we can't tell the sheriff if we decided to reinstate him as an officer, we can't tell the sheriff where he reinstates him. We could just simply say that the HR grievance committee finds no reason for the termination and could overturn that termination.
Chair, if it may, that discussion, all of that would need to be discussed without the public being here. Any decisions, anything of that nature, what we can and what we cannot do, or what you guys can do and what you cannot do, would have to be in a executive session to discuss that and the public.
Well, are we going to be prepared to move into an executive session tonight?
That is solely up to the committee.
You're not on the committee. You're not on the committee.
Point of order.
You're not on the committee. Yes, sir. You got something? Okay.
So when you was demoted, you got suspended and then fired, right?
No, I was just placed on administrative leave.
Okay.
And then terminated.
So why did they put you on administrative leave?
It was after the meeting, for having the meeting.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
You actually wasn't demoted, you were just moved.
Lateral transfer, yes, sir, that's correct.
Mr. Chair.
I'm sorry, but you're not on the committee.
I thought the judge said that the public could ask questions about the statement.
No. No, you're not on the committee. You're here to listen, but no comments are taken. I think we dismiss the members that are not on the committee and the press and the public and the Human Resource Grievance Committee goes into executive session.
You got 2 tape recorders down here, you may want to make sure